YouTube. I'm here to do my prediction video for UFC Fight Night RDA versus Eddie Alvarez. I just want to say something real quick. I know there's 3 cards this weekend, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. There's cards every single day. I'm not going to do the Ultimate Fighter one till Wednesday because the last episode hasn't aired, so I don't know the full card yet. But I'm going to do this one in 200, just to let you guys know. So first off, we got Vincent Luque versus Alvaro Herrera. And to me, this is kind of 2 guys who are the same. They're really skilled, but they both have a lot of weaknesses. I know that's weird to say, but like if you look at their records, they're both kind of like they're just kind of average records, but you can tell these guys are good. They've got good striking, good jiu-jitsu. I just think Luque's better. He's technicaler everywhere. I just think that he looks like he's better in general, and he's never been knocked out, and this other guy's been knocked out a bunch of times. All Luque's losses are like decision losses because he lost to really good wrestlers. So I'm going to say Luque wins by submission. Next is Marco Beltran versus Rinaldi Vaquera. I'm going to pick Rinaldo. Rigonaldo. I'm sorry, I'm saying this guy's name wrong. He won the Ultimate Fighter Brazil. He looks like he's got good striking, good jiu-jitsu, and I feel like they want these guys to win, so they usually give their first fights pretty easy fights. So I'm going to pick Rigonaldo. Next is Gilbert Burns versus Lucas Sesjuk. Okay, we're going to call him Lucas, the Polish guy. So Gilbert Burns is obviously a really good jiu-jitsu guy with really good striking, and Lucas is kind of like this Polish brawler guy with decent jiu-jitsu. I feel like striking, Gilbert's more technical, and on the ground, he's definitely like 5 levels above this guy. So I say, no matter where this fight takes place, I just think Gilbert's a little bit better. So I say he either wins by decision or late submission. Next is Felipe Arantes versus Gerard Sanders, and Gerard Sanders isn't good. Like, let's just be real. He's a good wrestler, and that's about it. He has like no chin, no striking. He's not really a good submission guy. He's just kind of a good wrestler. And I wouldn't even say, I mean, he doesn't even have good MMA wrestling. He's just a good wrestler. Like, you can see he just kind of shoots from really far out, and he really forces his takedowns. I feel like Felipe Arantes, his biggest weakness is his wrestling, but I feel like he's got good striking, good jiu-jitsu, and I feel like he's just the better fighter in general. Like, he's an actual fighter, and I feel like Gerard is just a wrestler. So I say Felipe probably will hurt him with a shot sooner or later and wins by TKO. Next is Russell Doan versus Pedro Mahuzo. And Pedro Mahuzo looks like he's really good. He looks like he's got good striking, good jiu-jitsu, all that. But I think that he kind of gives up takedowns a lot. And I think Russell, as long as he uses his wrestling, he should be able to score a lot of points with his takedowns. And I say that he probably will get a decision just by being the more smarter fighter. Next is Anthony Burchak versus Delino Lopez. And Delino was the guy who was the runner-up on the Ultimate Fighter. It was really close, that fight. It was a split decision. I thought he won it. But like I said, it was super close. Anthony Burchak he's a great offensive fighter. He has good striking offensively and submissions offensively. His biggest weakness is he's not good defensively. He's been knocked out before. He's been submitted a couple of times. And it really is. He's one of those guys who has really great offense but horrible defense. And I feel like it's just hard to pick a guy like that who's so inconsistent with the way he fights, where he could be winning 1 second. Like in his debut, he was beating the crap out of that heel hook guy, and then he gave up his leg when he just should have let the guy stand back up. And I feel like he makes some mistakes like that all the time. And so I just feel like even though he's probably the favorite and probably the better guy, I just feel like Delino is probably going to catch him in a submission just because I feel like he'll capitalize on one of those mistakes. Next is John McDessie versus Mehdi Bakbed. And Mehdi's already lost once. We've already seen he doesn't really have any grappling. And we saw on the show he's just kind of a decent striker. I feel like John McDessie's the better striker of the 2 and probably the better grappler too. Like if he absolutely had to take this to the ground, he probably could. So I just feel like John McDessie's going to get a TKO sooner or later, probably with striking, maybe with ground and pound. Next is Mike Pyle versus Albert Meehan. And Alberto Meehan is kind of a good jiu-jitsu guy who's willing to strike. I feel like in both areas, Mike Pyle is probably better, though. I think the only thing is Mike Pyle has the tendency to get caught really early because he's a really slow starter. I think if he can make this out of the first round, he'll probably win by 3rd round finish. But it's one of those things with Mike Pyle where he's just such a slow starter that sometimes he gets caught against guys that are super aggressive, like Alberto Meehan. So it's one of those things where it's just, do you think it'll get past the first round? And I do. I think this will probably end in the third, and I say Mike Pyle will probably win by submission or TKO. Next is Joe Duffy versus Mitch Clark, and Mitch Clark is honestly not very good. I feel like he got that one submission win over Al Quinta, which was really lucky. I feel like if you watch the first round of that fight, he was getting his ass kicked, and then the second round looked like it was about to be the exact same thing. He just caught him in that choke while they were on the ground. But aside from that, his record's like 2-3, and his other win was a close fight, and his other losses were all pretty one-sided. I feel like he only feels like a good fighter because he has that submission win over Al Quinta. But like I said, he didn't look good in that fight. He just kind of caught him in a submission. I feel like Joe Duffy's really good. He's got really good striking, really good jiu-jitsu, and he's probably worked a lot on his wrestling since that fight, since that loss to to Dustin Poirier. I feel like he's still one of the best up-and-comers, and I feel like they're kind of giving him a decent name to kind of get back in the win column. I say he probably wins by knockout. I don't think this fight's going to the ground. And if it stays standing, Joe Duffy's like 5 levels above this guy, so I say he wins by knockout in the first round. Next is Alan Jouban versus Bella Muhammad. And Bella's a good striker, but he has like no power. As where Alan Jouban's a really good striker with a lot of knockout power. Also, Alan Jouban's a high-level Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu brown belt. I feel like if he needs to, he could take this fight to the ground and probably submit him, but he probably won't need to. I feel like it's probably going to be a technical striking fight, and the power difference is just going to be the big difference in the fight overall. I think Alan Jouban will eventually catch Bella and probably win by knockout, maybe in the second. Next is Roy Nelson versus Derek Lewis, and these two guys, in my opinion, are basically the exact same fighter. I just think Roy Nelson's fought much better people. I also think Roy Nelson's probably got a better chin. Not much else to say. I just feel like, you know, they really are. They're kind of brawlers who have better grappling than you would assume, considering they're kind of big fat guys. But in all honesty, like Derek Lewis, I think people consider him a striker, but I think his grappling is actually better. And the same thing with Roy Nelson, is that even though most of his wins are by knockout, his grappling is probably way better. I just think it's who's going to catch who first, and you know, who's going to have... Really, that's about it. I just think it's who's going to catch who first, because they're probably just going to throw hands with each other and maybe wrestle a little bit. But I'm going to pick Roy Nelson. I just think he is the better striker, and I think he has the better chance. So I say he wins by knockout probably in the first. Next is RDA versus Eddie Alvarez, and I'm not going to lie, I've always felt like RDA was cheating somehow, because he just seems like he's like 10 times better now than he was a few years ago. And it wasn't even that long ago. Like, he's gone 10-1 his last 11, but before that, he was like 3-3 and 6. So somehow he went from, you know, a guy who's around 500 to a guy who's gone 10-1 in 11 fights, which is just a little weird in my opinion. I've always felt like that was really bizarre. It's not like Robbie Lawler, who was at middleweight, and he was just a small middleweight, and he just needed to, you know, take this shit seriously and move back down to welterweight. Because he was a contender when he was young, and then he just got experience at middleweight, and then, you know, he moved back down to his natural weight. RDA's been fighting at lightweight his whole career, and, you know, before this 10-1 win streak, he was like a 500 guy. So it's just bizarre, in my personal opinion. I've just always felt like he must be doing something. Eddie Alvarez, to me, I feel like he's probably the better boxer overall. I think RDA is faster. I think grappling-wise, they're about even. RDA is probably the better jiu-jitsu guy. Eddie Alvarez is probably the better wrestler. I think the longer this fight goes, the more it favors Eddie. I think Eddie just needs to kind of make this a boxing match, and if he can do that, he can win. And, you know, with RDA, it's like I said, I just can never believe that this guy's as good as he is, just because it's hard for me to, because I don't think that's ever happened before, like, except for Matt Serra, but he was kind of gift-wrapped that title shot. So I'm just saying, I felt like he's had the weirdest career resurgence ever in the history of MMA, to like an unbelievable point where you feel like something's got to be going down. Either way, I think Eddie's a little bit better in general. I think as long as he can get up, once he gets taken down, he'll probably win this fight. I think his cardio is better, and I think his striking is better. So I'll pick Eddie Alvarez. I say he wins by knockout, probably in the 4th or 5th. Anyway, thanks for watching, guys. Please like and subscribe.